You don't deal with handling or shipping or returns.
Product
Right?
fulfillment. Yeah.
Everything just happens on its own, and then you end up getting the money in your account if you end up making a sale, right?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I think what I like about it too is that as the person like yourself, like whether it's Jen or I or you who we're talking to, wouldn't you rather spend more time creating more assets that will sell rather than creating the products to the customer who already paid for them? Then you have to do it again, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it just doesn't make sense to be a maker. It makes sense to be a print on demand seller on Zazzle, which is so important because, first of all, whether you take that extra time that Zazzle, you pay Zazzle to do that, customer fulfillment and product fulfillment, customer service, customer billing, all that. Like so many of these Instagram sellers or sellers that post things on Instagram where they've got their entire office full of packages and they're all excited and they're printing off the shipping labels and I'm going like, you think this is a good thing? No, it's not a good thing. Yeah, you sold a lot, but how many hours did you spend, to get this number of dollars? We
Yeah.
don't need to do that. We don't. Okay, what's the next one?
Okay, and the next one now is number 3, which is there isn't any customer service or dealing with sales tax, which we kind of talked about already, but we can dive into it a little bit more if you want.
And also the sales tax. Yeah, so many of the clients that we now have that love the Zazzle platform were just so overwhelmed by all the sales tax, right? Because if you're selling something physical and you're selling to people all over the world, the tax part is not something that Etsy takes care of. Whereas in Zazzle, they have all these different domains for all these different countries, and they take care of all that.
Mm-hmm.
So, end of story.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's why it's the best time to start a Zazzle product, a Zazzle store now. And instead of Etsy, right? Because there's a lot of people who are making the decision to work online, to start an online business. And there are a lot of opportunities out there. And for whatever reason, because Etsy just has a lot more traffic, Etsy was actually, I think maybe, was it around before Zazzle? It kind of, because I was on Etsy as well when we first started
Yeah.
out. And so people know Etsy, and it was quite funny because, if you talk to somebody and you're like, oh, what do you do? And like, oh, well, I'm an Etsy seller. And you say, oh, well, that's so cool. But then when somebody says, what's like a Zazzle, and they're like, oh, what is Zazzle, right? What is that? What does that mean?